There are many statues of politicians in New Zealand. John Ballance, Peter Fraser, Keith Holyoake, and Richard Seddon. Some on the left have suggested that the Richard Seddon statues be removed. Peter Fraser and John Ballance are relatively inoffensive, so they remain. Keith Holyoake sent New Zealanders to die in the immoral disgrace that was the Vietnam War, so I don't know why he is unscathed. But Richard Seddon gets all of the flack. Richard Seddon was a charismatic, populist leader. He had some personal right-wing tendencies, but presided over what was a strongly left-wing Liberal government. He spent 13 years as Prime Minister, and the Liberal government was in power for about 21 years. It was a very powerful combination. A pro-worker left-wing policy agenda with a right-wing populist leader. The argument for removing the Richard Seddon statue is that he sometimes said racist things. I don't think that this is really a sufficient argument. Richard Seddon was racist, but he was not exceptionally racist for his time. It was the 1890s and early 1900s. Everyone was racist. Richard Seddon is not comparable to a Confederate general. He was racist, but he was not anything special by the standards of his day. Sure, he made the occasional racist remark about Asian immigrants, but it was no worse than what we hear from politicians nowadays. Winston Peters claiming Asians will replace Maori and calling Maori facial tattoos scribble face. David Seymour dismissing a Maori activist as primitive and thuggish. Rawiri Waititi claiming that Maori are genetically superior. Sure, Richard Seddon made the occasional racist remark, but he was not exceptional in this regard, far from it. And he was Prime Minister for 13 years. He has a massive legacy that goes far beyond a few racist remarks. Richard Seddon was our longest-serving Prime Minister. He led the Liberal Party to victory after victory against their Conservative rivals. And the Liberal government was a great government, one of the few great governments in the nation's history. They did a massive amount of good. They introduced the pension, legislation was introduced to empower trade unions, the Department of Labour was introduced to inspect and improve working conditions, extensive workplace safety regulations were introduced, legislation was introduced to make employers liable for injuries suffered by their workers, public work schemes were created to reduce unemployment and improve New Zealand's infrastructure, the Liberal government put an end to the use of child labour, maximum work hours were introduced, the public holiday of Labour Day was introduced, the Liberals introduced the world's first minimum wage laws. They raised the age of consent, they banned children from smoking, they cut taxes for small-time farmers, the government invested heavily in education to make the education system better and more accessible. They introduced term limits for the upper house to eliminate its stranglehold and the political stagnation it had produced. They introduced divorce rights and gave women the right to vote. Seddon reportedly opposed giving women the right to vote, but eventually went along with it because he wanted to take credit for it. He saw the writing on the wall. The Liberal government ended New Zealand's status as a colony by making us a dominion, beginning the march towards true independence. And these are just a handful of examples. The Liberal government achieved many great things. They dragged New Zealand into the future. They presided over bold progress. We need another Liberal government. Richard Seddon is a significant part of our national history, and his government did great things for this country. His statues must remain.